Let's compare the Hot Wheels Starships Select Ghost with the battle damaged variant.
Villa Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it.
Hello there, and thanks for visiting Villa Varykino. I'm really excited. I finally found the Hot Wheels Starships Select Variant Ghost. As you can see, I already have the regular one that came out just a little while ago. I have unboxed this previously and I'll link that video down below. But after continued searching, I finally found the variant version. And strangely enough, I actually spotted two on my local toy store shelf. That's never happened before. When I've actually found a rare variant, I've only ever found one. So this was very exciting. So we've got lots of details to go over, and I'm really keen to get it out of the packaging and compare it with the regular version. There's so much more going on here. I just absolutely love the Ghost, and I really can't wait to take a closer look at this battle damaged variant and perhaps take a look and see if I can decide about a favorite or whether I think one is better than the other. So I'm going to take a closer look at the packaging because we've got some variants here. So I'm going to pop this one out of the way and we can take a closer look at the box, and then we'll get this one out so we compare the two together. So, doing a quick overview of the differences in the packaging between the standard Ghost and the variant with battle damage. The main point is the colors that they use for the packaging. As we can see, this one has a standard sort of grey and black color scheme. This one has accents of blue, so especially here with the nameplate, Ghost, it's grey and blue. And then if we take a closer look at the top, we can see that both the top-down line art and the Rebels logo are in a different color too. The standard one is red and the variant one is blue. And also the number on the top hanger here, we have a red 21, and on the battle damaged version, it is a blue 21. So it's definitely nice and easy. When I had never found a variant on the store shelf, I didn't really know what to expect. I wasn't sure if I was going to just be looking for the battle damage and the packaging was going to be the same, but thankfully they've made it very nice and clear, and it does say variant here on the text as well as that blue stripe. So it's nice and easy. You're not having to inspect every Hot Wheels ship on the shelf trying to see if it has battle damage or not. On the back, it's pretty much the same thing. We can see the features with the flight stand here and the other starships in the assortment. Of course, with this one, we have the Star Destroyer, the Inquisitor Scythe, and Anakin Skywalker's Jedi Interceptor. So very, very fun. So now let's get this one out and compare the two side by side. Now I have both ships out of the packaging. It's always a bit of a wrestle getting these ones out of the plastic tray, but I finally got them out. And this one is the regular clean version. This one is the variant with the battle damage. And I wanted to take a closer look at the display stands first because these are packaged underneath the ships. You can't see them while they're in their packaging. And as you can see, it is pretty standard. There is, I guess a bit unfortunately, nothing to note which one is the standard version and which one is the variant. They have exactly the same design, the same text. There is nothing on that front edge noting that it is a variant. I think perhaps it could have been cool to have like a little blue text saying variant or something like that, just to sort of give a little bit of a difference, because if you have seen, and I've got one on hand, the new line includes the prototype variants, and as you can see, the stand for these ones are very different. It is white with black, so it really stands out different to the standard ones. And since the variants are a little bit rarer, perhaps it would have been fun to have something different for the stand, maybe tying in that blue color scheme from the packaging, maybe just a little bit of a note saying variant or something like that. But yeah, it's a little shame. It doesn't exactly ruin the display, but I think that that would have been perhaps a little bit of a fun extra note. So I'll pop that one down the side. If you are interested in that Jedi Interceptor prototype, I'll have that unboxing link down below as well. So now I have kept the ones off the stand because there is some battle damage on the underside, which of course was pretty hard to see in its packaging. So for the most part, the paint job is pretty much the same. I will say that with the Hot Wheels Starships Select line, the weathering can vary a bit from vehicle to vehicle. So generally speaking, I like to compare if I see them on the store shelf next to others. And as we can see, we've got quite a bit of difference in terms of the grey weathering on the underside. Now that is just sort of standard variation. This one looks very sort of almost clean. It's very sort of white. We've got a little bit of a very pale wash and it gets a little thicker in some of the other details. This one here, we've got a lot of wash on the underside. And I know that we're going to have variances across both the standard and the battle damaged one, but this one also has that extra battle damaged sort of decal and paint apps. So we've got some black sort of blaster marks. We've got, I think there's just these ones here, and we've got one here and one here. They almost look sort of like an airbrush effect. It's really hard to sort of show the sort of speckling close up. And then we've got this big blaster mark. So because I could see two on the store shelf together, I noted particularly on the top, because that's what I could see in the packaging, just how perfectly similar all of the battle damaged markings were, because I'd never had the opportunity to see two side by side like that. So I am pretty sure that these are decals of some sort, that they're not sort of hand painted or anything like that, because we get a lot of variance with what I assume is sort of the hand painting washing effect here. But the other painted details, like the yellow stripes here, are very, very uniform and tidy. So I am assuming that there is some kind of pre-manufactured decal that they are using for the battle damage, because it is very clean and very, very similar, especially with the two that I was able to see. So that is the underside, and I will put up a few close still pictures there so that you can see them. These are metal, so they are a little bit heavy to hold like this, but yes, we can see the differences in the wash, but that is more of a variant of just item to item rather than standard and variant. So let's get them on their stands so we can take a closer look at the top. I do like the way that these snap onto their stands. They're very snug and secure, which is what you want for these heavy metal items. So I like how easily these go on, and they don't make sort of like a cracking. They just kind of slowly push on nice and secure so I can hold them. So now that we've got them on their stands, I can maneuver them around, and already side by side, I am seeing a massive difference here. This is really fascinating. Wow, okay, so of course we've got that gray weathering providing a very different look. This one is a little bit more cleaner. I had seen some of them on the store shelf, and personally I liked the cleaner look for this. Sometimes when the weathering is a bit thick, it looks a little bit more, not clumsy per se, I just liked the look of the cleaner weathering. You can see on this one here, we've got thicker patches of grey weathering. Like I said, I did actually spot two of these on the store shelf, so I had a couple to sort of compare, but honestly, the two that I spotted had very, very similar weathering, which I thought was interesting. Generally speaking, I find there to be quite a lot of variance, so perhaps they are a little bit more tighter with the paint jobs for the variant ones, and we can see just the sheer amount of decal and extra blaster and paint effects that are going on here. It's always really hard if you don't have the two side by side to kind of, I was wondering how much extra this looks compared to the other one. And see if I put these two, you can really test out the strength of the display stands when you're holding them like this. They are not budging, but wow, it really does give such a different vibe, doesn't it? Because I wasn't sure how strongly I would feel about the battle damaged ones, whether, because sadly in the past I've not always been able to find them, so there's a part of me that's like, you know what, it's okay, I've got the original one, that's the one that matters the most, you know, maybe I don't need the battle damaged ones, maybe they don't look great, but of course the collector inside of me is like, you know what, you're trying to talk yourself out of it because you haven't been able to find it. I think they do look cool, and now I'm finally getting to see them side by side, and there is so much going on here. There is a lot of black that's just really adding some interesting contrast compared to that other version there. I will say, well, there's a little bit of an oddity here, and it's not a flaw per se, but the blaster damage just kind of cuts off here a little bit. And it's not abrupt, it's not like it's a really clean line, but it doesn't go down the side here, because that's going to be a lot more of a complicated application process, because you can see they have the join here between the top and bottom of this particular vehicle. I think it's kind of fun. You can just kind of see the blaster damage there. If it's going to be on a bookshelf, you're not really going to see it, but perhaps if you have it on a high shelf, you might be able to look up and see that there. And I do appreciate that they haven't just ignored the underside. If this is, you know, a realistic ship that's seen this much battle damage, the underside is going to get some battle damage as well. So I like that they haven't sort of skimped on that aspect, that it is more of a 360 effect there. We've got some of that sort of black spray towards the back here with the cockpit where the Phantom would be. And then we've got some here. I really like the black spray. It's quite glossy and it really does catch my eye. I really think these are quite fun. I wasn't really sure how much I would like it. I really do like this line, but it is not something I've had too much experience with, you know, in terms of like, you know, my usual Hasbro collecting line and things like that. You know, I haven't had, you know, a big Falcon and then a severely battle damaged one. Most of the variations we've seen have been things like the Hoth 8080 versus the Endor 8080, where we've got very subtle sort of paint effects around the legs and things like that. This is such a different technique and variation that I don't have as much experience with in the collecting space. So it's really fun that Hot Wheels is including this. I know the Micro Galaxies Squadron line has standard vehicles and then battle damaged ones. The TIE Fighter in particular comes to mind. And I think those are fun. Those are complete different sculpts though. They've kind of got chunks missing. So those feel very different in their sculpting. Whereas this one is just basically a different paint effect. But I think this is really quite fun. And of course, these things, personally, I think they look so much better out of the packaging, especially when you get them on their stands. I know sometimes it can be really tempting to keep things boxed. The collector in me often struggles with that because I think things, you know, they just look cool in their boxes. But this one, I think it definitely, for this particular Starships Select line, I do think they look better out. And you can really see just all of the sort of details under better lighting. Now, there's some really interesting, if I just sort of tip it to the side, you can just get a feel for just how different this is. So I think if you were, you know, a collector and you don't have the opportunity to add too many ships to your collection, or perhaps you don't find them, I think I would, if I had to choose one of these. I think the standard one is probably the one that I am going to choose. But because we've got these fun variants, I'm really happy to have this one in my collection because it actually looks more different than I thought it would. I thought, you know, I'm gonna like walk past my display and I'm barely gonna notice that they're different, that it's just gonna look like I'm doubling up for no reason. It looked quite striking in the box, but I didn't have my one out of the box next to it to compare. Yeah, it just gives it such a different vibe. That's really quite fun. And it's always just neat to see these things out of the box and get a feel for whether you think it was a good addition to your collection. I'm really quite impressed with just how clean this looks. As you can see, it's like it's not a flat surface that all of these painted sort of elements and these decals are. We've got, especially this one, there's a lot of detail lines underneath it and it's just really quite clean. We can see these tiny little sort of detail lines expanding outwards from the main battle damaged part. And on here, we've got it overlapping over the details there as well. This one here is a bit more on a flatter surface, but that still looks pretty clean. Very nice, very cool. This is my very first variant from the Hot Wheels Starship Select line that I've unboxed. So this has been quite a fun experience actually getting one out and adding it to my display shelf so I can actually see all of the battle damaged details in person. As I mentioned earlier, they're really hard to find for us here in New Zealand. We tend to get a lot of the standard ships and then we just never seem to find the variants. There is still a lot of Razor Crests available for us here locally, and I have sadly yet to find a battle damaged Razor Crest. I'm a bit sad about that one. I am probably going to source that one internationally online because now that I have this one out, I think I am going to try and track down the battle damaged versions because I really like this one. I think it's really cool. I was very happy to be able to find it locally considering my luck finding the other versions. And the Ghost is such an awesome ship. I think this looks really fun. So there you go, that is my very mini unboxing of the variant Ghost from the Hot Wheels Starships Select line. But more than an unboxing, this was a comparison of the two ships, and you can just sort of see how cool they look side by side. It's like a before and after, isn't it, that they've seen some space battles there. And I think that that's really, I know some people will think that this one just looks a little bit more, perhaps more detailed. I can understand why some people would perhaps choose this one if they saw both on their store shelves together, why they would choose this one as the one to pick up rather than this one. It certainly adds a lot more detail and sort of, yeah. But personally, I'm very happy to have both. I think these look really fun. And of course, the different variations. This one having a slightly sort of thicker, heavier weathering kind of adds to the actual deliberate painted battled image as well. It just kind of looks a little bit more grimy, like it's been through more as well. So I think that really adds to it as well. Of course, that is the very specific weathering for my ship in general. But I think just for me personally, this all really ties in very, very well together. So I'll have some other stills on screen because I think that sometimes photography shows some of those really tiny details a little bit better. There is so much going on these Hot Wheels Starship Selects. The metal construction gives some really interesting detail effects that I think really sings when you can look at it close up. But yes, I'm very excited. This was really fun. I was really crossing my fingers I'd find this one, and it's just very, very exciting that I finally did, and I now have it loose and I can add it to my display. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and checking out all of the details of the Hot Wheels Starship Select variant battle damaged version of the Ghost. Let me know what you think about this particular ship in the comments down below. Catch you in the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.